As this is amazing for my clickbait YouTube title, do you guys want to hear about my first time? My first ever time getting it on with a girl. So we get to the party and they're all screaming, running drunk outside this house. And I'm like, all right, guys, that's cool. That's cool. And the girls look at me. They look at me because some of these girls hated me because at the time in high school, I was part of the group of boys that a lot of girls liked, but a lot of girls also disliked because, you know, I'm 15, 16. I make a lot of enemies, but I also make a lot of friends. And it just happens to have these girls, they didn't like me very much. So these girls see me and they're like, we're going to the park. One of them who didn't really know me that well was like, oh, we're going to the park. But the rest of them were like, go f yourself. We don't want you here. And I was like, ha. Well, on the way to the park is my house. So I decided, whatever, I'll walk with them. And me and my boy HMP are chilling together. You know, the homie and I are vibing. And these girls that we're with are absolutely pissed off their heads on alcohol. So anyways, we're walking to this park and it's pitch black. This was like a nature reserve style thing. So we've just walked with these incredibly loud, obnoxious, drunk girls to the park. And then we've just met up with a bunch of other incredibly obnoxious people. I'm like, awesome. And I see the people that we're with. My homie HMP, I realized this is why we got invited to this party. Okay? The people at the park that we met up with, for lack of a better term, are extremely cringe. I'm sitting there, I'm not excited. I'm not gonna lie. I, at this point, have decided, shit, I really want to get home. So, I sit around for 5 minutes on my own on this little log. And then off in the distance, I see this girl. She's small, very small. She's about 5'2". She's got long brown hair, like some Ariana Grande looking ass. And I'm like, holy shit. She's pretty, but she's a girl I've never seen before. I've never met. And I'm 16. I'm super nervous. I don't know how to talk to this girl. So I'm like, should I talk to her? Should I not? Should I? Should I not? And it was quite apparent to me after seeing her for about 3 minutes run around that she was intoxicated. She was drunk. So I was like, I'm not really interested in this girl. Because when I was 16, I wasn't really the kind of guy to drink. That wasn't my style. The girl eventually is running around being drunk out. She's a little bit drunk. She's not too drunk. She's having fun. She's running around. And I'm off on the side on this piece of wood on my own. And she spots me. And like a hawk, I see her notice me. And I look back at her. She knows that I know she saw me. This girl had confidence. She looked at me and she smiled. And she had a good smile. I was like, damn. I was like, she cute. And she thinks I'm cute. I'm getting the vibe. I'm like, ooh, this girl likes me. Then what she does, she gallops like a little, you know, cute little thing frolicking through the grass. And she sits herself on my lap and she gives me a big cuddle. And she's like, oh, you cold? Because I was in this like thin ass button up shirt in the middle of the park at like, it was now 11:30 at night. And then, you know, imagine the romantic music's playing. The scene's set for you. There's petals falling from the sky. It's romantic. There's a lit fire on the side. And then the music cuts. The fire goes away. Everything's done. Because her boyfriend walks over and says, hey, Toby. And I didn't see him when he said, hey, Toby. And I look up. I'm like, oh my God. That's my boy. That's my boy, Michael. That's my friend from high school that I'm currently at school with. I know this guy. And he says, hey, I see you've met my girlfriend. And we'll call her Emma. So you've met my girlfriend, Emma. And I'm like, oh, Michael, I have. She's really nice. And it's like, you know, the sweat's dripping from my head, like beads are coming down. Like, Emma's great, man. Glad that she's your girlfriend. So I'm sitting here on this log, and Emma eventually gets up and hangs out with Michael, and Emma's swinging off Michael and doing all the cutesy shit, and I'm just sitting there. And I'm like, oh my God. The way she looked at me, the way she came over, she's something. She's interesting. I thought she was cute. But my boy Michael, he's dating her. So I'm like, it's fine. But the entire time she was with me, I forgot to mention, she says, hey, you look like this guy from this show I really like. You look like this guy, Dylan O'Brien. Dylan O'Brien is like one of those pre-teeny ass boys who are super attractive. But she was like, oh my gosh, you look like Dylan O'Brien. And when a girl that's 16 comes to you and she says you look like the guy from one of those shows, that's the biggest compliment a guy could ever receive at 16. So she gives me the cute signals and I start walking away. Honestly, after that, I didn't really think that much about it. Like, obviously on the way home, you think, damn, this girl, she's pretty, but she's got a boyfriend. And for 16-year-old Toby at the time, I'm a respectful dude. After I kind of go on and forget about her, it was probably about 2 months that, you know, I'd see this girl on Instagram. She followed me on Instagram, but she never spoke to me and I never spoke to her. And then about 2 months later, she breaks up with Michael. And a week later, the news is spread to everyone in the school. And everyone knows that I thought this girl was pretty. Because, okay, maybe I went around and told a lot of guys how hot I thought this girl was. And I was shallow at 16. I see hot girl, me want hot girl. I'm sorry. But at the time, the boys were like, hey, the girl's single. And I was like, oh, that's my boy Michael. You know, they just broke up. The next day after a bunch of guys came to me and said she was single, she hit me up in the DMs. She messaged me and she said, hey, we should hang out sometime. I'm near your house in a few days. We should go hang out. And for me, god damn. She lives about 40-minute drive away from me, alright? But she has a friend. And that friend lives really, really, really close to me. So her and her friend are like doing a little sleepover. They're doing a sleepover. And she says, hey, let's hang out. Let's go to the park. I sneak out of my house at like 10 o'clock at night one night. 10 o'clock at night, I meet them in the park. We just sit outside in the cold. And we look at the stars and it's really nice. And it's romantic and it's cute and it's all this stuff. You know, we're hanging out and this is the first time we hang out. And then, as romance does under the starry night, your boy, he shares his first romantic kiss. It was good. I was like, god damn, this is some good shit. But in the back of my mind, I was still thinking, I'm sorry, my boy Michael. No restraint from this little 16-year-old man. He did not follow the bro code. He did not. We weren't that close of friends. So it wasn't like we were bros, okay? This is how I rationalized it. By the way, Michael, there's a decent chance you're watching this, bro, or gonna watch the YouTube video. If this makes it into the YouTube video, Michael, again, I appreciate you, man. You've supported me a lot. I would say I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Michael. But a boy gotta do what he gotta do when he's 16. I give her a good cuddle goodbye, and I walk home because we're in the park. And my house was like a 20-minute walk away. So I was like, you know what? Time to walk home. Goodbye. I'll see you next time. And it was really sweet. It was romantic. We get home, and for the next week or two, this girl, you know, we're back and forth on Instagram. You know, in the DMs. And then things got a little bit more exciting. Me and this girl, we hang out. It starts as once a week, then a week later, twice a week. Then 3 times a week, and she's hanging out with her friend. One time, we were sleeping over at Emma's friend's house, and all 3 of us are together. I told my mom, hey, I'm going to a sleepover with my boy Ricky. I wasn't sleeping over at Ricky's house. We go to this girl's house. This girl that I'm with, Emma, is cuddling. We're cuddling. It's nice. We're watching cute movies. And then her friend is there, being a massive, you know, third wheel. And she just has to chill. So on that fabled night, after talking for about 3 weeks at that girl's house, we decided to play a game. And this is where the romance truly started. We're in bed together. And we play this game. And it's a game where you write something on someone's back. So she rolls her back to me. I just draw some stupid word like, hey, or something. I turn over. She does something. We play this game for like 5 minutes, and I'm thinking, damn, I like this girl. I think it's time to ask her out. It's time to pop the question. It's time to make it official. It's time to make it Facebook official. No one uses Facebook now, but back then, that was a thing. I start writing. I'm spelling this word. That's a really long word. She's not getting it. She's like, W-E? No, not E. I? And it took us like 5 minutes to get to will you. And eventually I skip the bullshit and I say, you know what? I was gonna write, will you be my girlfriend? The gleam in her eyes, she looks at me. She's like, of course I will be your girlfriend. And that was it. It was a romantic, it was like excitement. It was like 16-year-old excitement. She was like, oh my gosh. First she says yes. Then she kissed me after that. And I was like, oof. And you know, we're at this girl's house. So you know what the girls do? She gets up and her friend go out into the other room. It's time for girl talk. I'm like, what do I do now? I don't know what to do. So I just start watching YouTube videos. I'm just watching YouTube videos. I'm watching League of Legends, like how to play, you know, like Teemo or some shit in bed. And she comes back. But the thing is, she comes back looking excited. She's excited, but, you know, nervous. And I'm like, what's happening? Then I realize, where's your friend? And then she hits me with the, oh, she's sleeping in the spare room tonight. If all that you had to do was say, will you be my girlfriend? For that when you were 16, shit, I would have had a lot of girlfriends if I knew the power. Like, holy shit. So obviously me and this girl are in the room alone. And I was like, this is it. This is the time. This is about to happen. I did come prepared, as a young 16-year-old does when he's hanging out with a girl. He has protection in the wallet. He comes strapped. At the ripe young age of 16, I walked into Kohl's, the supermarket. I took that shit and I handed that to the cashier. I say it like I'm so confident. It was the most embarrassing thing of my life. And to be fair, this girl at the cash thing was also only like 18. And for the fact that she was similar age to me, for some reason it just made it more awkward. And anyways, back to where we were up to. Your boy stays strapped, and the action's about to begin. And obviously she didn't imply that we were doing, we were smashing. She didn't imply that. We were just sleeping on our own. But obviously my horny ass is like, what we doing? And I'm like, holding her. She's like, coming closer. And then she rolls over and she looks at me. And she says, I really like you. And I really want to. And I'm sitting there like, yeah. Oh, you do? Oh, damn, that's so surprising to me. Me? I really want to? You want to? Oh my god. I would have never thought. And then she looks at me and she says, I'm on my period. And when that happened, my whole world came crashing down. Do you know how crushing that was? That was painful. But in any moment of sadness, when you reach rock bottom, there's only a way up from the bottom. And she turns back around and she says, with a glint in her eye, I can do something else though. And boy, we were back on top. Listen, I was like, that's good enough for me. And then I proceeded to get like, you know, a lackluster end job. Emma, you know who you are. You know your real name. I'm sorry. Things improved from the small beginnings we had, but you know, a girl gives her like, you know, when you're 16, you're not getting good hand jobs, okay? And mine was the same. You know, that's how it started. This is the build up. This is where it starts happening. So the first time I invited Emma to this house that we're streaming from right now. You guys have seen the stream setup before. So what happens is I invite Emma over to my house, which she's never been here. And Emma knows, and I know, it's gotta go down. So we hang out, we watch romantic movies, and she's looking at me, I'm looking at her, and we, without word, in the most awkward 16-year-old way, I'm like, hey, do you wanna do it? And she looks at me and she's like, my mom's coming really soon, like, are you sure? I'm like, she's here in 30 minutes, because her mom was coming to pick her up. And I'm like, yeah? Yeah, like, I don't need 30 minutes. I need a lot less than 30. If she was coming in 5, we could make it happen. And we get to business. Lights off, complete darkness, and I have before practiced rapping my boy. So I'm putting one on, but it's in the dark. I've never done it in the dark, and I'm messing it up. And eventually I get it on. I try get this shit in, and we're going at it. I'm trying to go at it. And I don't know where the fuck I'm meant to put it. Where does it go? I was so confused. I didn't know there was a freaking instruction manual to sex. She's like, do you want help? I'm like, no, it's fine, it's fine. I'm like really nervous. I'm like, no, it's fine, it's fine. Like, trust me, it's okay. And even she's struggling. I'm like, what the hell's happening? Cause I get so embarrassed. I stop getting hard. I'm like losing it. And I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, I gotta make this shit quick. And with all my brain power, I turn it to Jimmy Neutron. I summon all the intelligence of Albert Einstein, make that shit wet, and I find it. I get that shit in. We do it for like 2 minutes. And then she gets a call from her mom. And she says, I'm outside. She's outside. This girl gets dressed as fast as possible. She's zooming, she's doing her hair, she's making herself look pretty. And she's like, she's flustered. She's happy, she's excited, you know, that was the first shebang. She gives me a kiss and she leaves. And I'm still sitting there, because I was helping her find her shit while I was, you know, I got no pants on. I'm running around my house with my balls hanging out. And I help her and I get her all her shit. And then she leaves. And boy, did I go straight to the boys on Messenger. I was like, boys, we did it. And the boys were gassing me up. They're like, damn, bro, she's pretty. Yo, man, you did it before like most of us did. And that was my first time. But the first time isn't the interesting story about this girl. That's not the interesting story. Eventually, as my year went on, I really got interested in learning. I was really interested in doing well in school. And I wanted to do insanely well. I wanted to be a doctor at the time. And she hated school. So what she did, she moved in with me. And we bought a bed. And the bed that you guys all know and love, that I'm going to show you now, the bed over there, her and I bought and built. So thank you to Emma for helping me get that bed. She moves in with me and lives with me. So Emma, instead of going to school, Emma lived in my house and didn't go to school. She would go to school sometimes, but she just decided, I don't want to go to school. And my dad would sometimes come into my room to like drop shit off, and he'd be like, Toby, that girl is in your room. And I was like, I know, she's chilling in your room. Like, what is she doing? I was like, I would just say she's sick or something. I'd pretend like that she went to school, but she didn't go to school. So she lives with me for a year and a half. This was a year and a half, okay? And our relationship has its ups and downs. We dated from the age of 16 to 18. When all you do is live in my house for 2 years and not go to school for most of it, she started to go a little crazy. I mean, she would get really angry. And it was because I wasn't spending enough time with her. But how am I meant to spend time with you when I'm trying to study? And she did nothing. So it was really rough and confusing. She started to, you know, getting aggressive and yelling. And she started getting spiteful. At the time, I had a healthy friend group. So my friends would host parties, you know, as 17-year-olds do. And at these parties, we only ever went to a few, but about 3 parties, she would flirt with my friends. Not because she was interested in them. She would do it because she wanted me to give her more attention. My boys, they were all super supportive of me, but all my friends started hating her. And this was about a year and 3 months into it. And I started to pick up on the negativity and all the problems. So I didn't want to break up with her in the middle of my schooling because I felt like it would derail a lot of my life. She fought with me countless times. She even fought with me on the day of my final chemistry exam. It was one of my most vivid memories. The morning of my chemistry exam. This is my final exam. And my exams had gone well. My exams had done alright. But chemistry was my time to shine. I was really good at chemistry. And I said, listen, we're having problems this week. Let me focus on my exams and then school's done. You and I are gonna have so much time together because school's over. And on the morning of the chemistry exam, I wake up next to her and she starts a fight with me. And I can't remember what the fight was about, but it was over some petty bullshit. And I was so mad. I got into my chemistry exam and tried, but the entire time I was doing my chemistry exam, all I could think of was the rage of this woman that she inflicted on me. God, I hated her. Just to give you guys a quick rundown, I still ended up doing well in chemistry because I was good at chemistry. After I finished high school, nothing really changed. My life kind of stayed the same. I tried hanging out with my boys a lot, and she was still angry all the time. And we were using me working and studying so much as an excuse for her problems. But we quickly realized that she was upset and she was angry at a lot of things that had nothing to do with me. But she just thought it was all because of me. So I quickly realized it's not working out. I needed a way out. And I started getting even more and more distant from Emma, even though I had more time. And this really, really upset her. It started with yelling. And she started yelling at me and getting angry at me. After all the turmoil and her still doing nothing, one day she was really, really mad at me. And I didn't know why. And she picked up scissors and held them to my face. And she was not human in the moment. It was like she was an animal. And she looked like it was terrifying. It wasn't like, haha, I'm gonna hurt you. It was, I'm going to f***ing slit you. Like, it was horrifying. It was really, really scary. This girl has scissors in her hands. I'm holding her arms up like this, right there. Literally 2 meters away from me. She's got scissors flailing her hand like this, and she whacks my wrists a few times. It doesn't cut me or anything, but I'm holding this girl's wrists up. And she's kicking me, and she's screaming at me. So eventually, I rotate her around because she was like she was small. She was half my size. I rotated her around, and I threw her onto my bed. I run out that door, and I lock myself in my bathroom. And I'm like, I have no idea what to do. I didn't want to call the police on my girlfriend. I was too naive to take that level that was probably needed. She was literally threatening to cut me. So what I did, I locked myself in the bathroom and I called my boys. And the boys just sit there and I put them on loudspeaker, and all of them, the entire relationship, have been really nice to her. Really, really nice to her. Even though after for the final few months, she was a bitch. She took me away from them. They resented her for it, but they were still really nice to her because they knew she was crazy. So anyway, the boys calm her down and convince her to slide the scissors to me under the table. And she was messed up. And I opened the door and she starts bawling her eyes out. And she starts crying. And she just says, I'm so sorry. At the age of 18, obviously, the obvious answer is kick her out, move out, separate. But this was my first serious relationship. And I still loved her in my heart. But I was quickly falling out of love with her too. So what I did was interesting to say the least. This girl had a guy she dated when she was 14. And he was from France. And he was very, very rich. This guy had just come back to Sydney. That guy was a massive tool. And he did not care about hitting on her, even if she had a boyfriend. He was flirting with her and I did not give a shit. So what I did, instead of being a defensive boyfriend and saying, hey, don't talk to my girl, I did quite the opposite. I said to him and I said to her, you guys should hang out. And this is where my master plan came. But I genuinely just didn't care anymore. I couldn't, she hurt me. She physically hurt me and emotionally hurt me a lot. So I just wanted her gone. So I kept telling her, hang out with this guy who's flirting with you. Hang out with that guy who's flirting with you. And eventually one fabled night, I get this call. She had just been hanging out with this guy. And she calls me. She called me at 11:30 at night. She never really called me that late. And she called me. And the tears are falling. I can hear her crying. She says, Toby, I'm so sorry. I cheated on you. And part of me was so relieved. Part of me was so excited because I was like, I didn't know how to break up with her for all that time. But obviously, I got cheated on. I said, I can't be with you anymore because I can't trust you. And that was the end of the story. She tried to message me. She told me she missed me, all these things. But I never responded and I never went back. I don't know if there is a moral. That's just a story. It was an emotional roller coaster. I've had an awesome relationship. I'm no longer dating anyone at the moment, but I've learnt from those poor relationships and I've had good ones instead. That was my story of my first time, but also more importantly, I think the best way to synthesize it all was my first ever girlfriend. Everyone asking what mouse... Ow! Fuck! Ah! Look at my floor. It shot up, hit the roof, bounced off the roof, and landed there and split in half. Ah! Ah! It burns the cuts in my hands. Ah! Ah! Ah!